So the first season, mark me, the first season of Daredevil Born Again is quite something. Now that the second season is ongoing and receiving all sorts of praise and a fair bit of hate too, I'm not gonna lie. I thought it high time that I actually got around to watching the first season and subsequently reviewing it to see what all the fuss is about and what's going on and if it's actually any good or not. And you know what? You know what? It is. It actually is pretty good in my not so humble opinion. I think they're kind of cooking here. Like the original Daredevil show was good, right? It was a fascinating exploration of the this great superhero and underrated superhero. Daredevil is awesome, just an awesome character. He's in the end he's kind of Marvel Batman. And to that end, he is awesome, and it's just a cool premise. This boxer acrobat and a blind man who's fighting in this angry, noisy, hateful city, and he's the angriest guy of them all. And Matt Murdock is just a brilliant character. The blind lawyer by day and a frightening crime fighter by night. Just probably one of the better, beat 'em up characters in the Marvel universe. I don't think anyone wants to be caught up in a fight with Daredevil, um, and he's got a cool power, right? Being able to see with his ears and with his nose, right? He can feel letters on a page. You can feel the ink on a page and read normal books, right? Because he has mutant abilities, right? I'm sure there's something to do with the acid that blinded him as a child, or like psychic ability or something. They've done all sorts of stuff in the comics. It all goes a little bit over my head because I haven't read every single comic in existence. But I digress, because my point being, when they came out with the original Daredevil show, it I was kind of stoked, and well, granted, I was fairly young when they came out with it originally, but when I finally got around to watching it, it was pretty darn good. And fairly, they treated the character with respect, if nothing else, and it was a well written story, which is the all important. If for me, a writer, that's the all important quality. Is Was it written well? Is the story good? It doesn't necessarily matter if you're being accurate to the source material or what have you, at least not in the grand scheme of things. Tell a good story first and foremost, because it doesn't matter if you're being totally accurate or whatever if you've told a bad story with those characters, which I don't really think they did. I think it was a pretty good show. And and it being good, it being a good story is something that Marvel has been sorely lacking for a while now. Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four have been like strange anomalies as of late, and to put it frankly, I think they're kind of proof that Marvel is trying to change its ways, trying to find its footing again. And to that end, they brought back Daredevil. They brought back Charlie Cox, I think his name is, as the angry vigilante warrior himself, and they've just made incredible use of Daredevil the character and the that sort of world space to tell an interesting story yet again. The first season being kind of kind of a crime drama in a lot of ways. With Matt Murdock going around doing a lot of detective work using his powers and abilities, to sniff out and hear and sense, weird stuff going on. And it's kind of they kind of do like a case of the week situation where every few episodes you get this new weird thing going on, a court case, a bank robbery, etc., etc. And meanwhile, you have Wilson Fisk, right? The Kingpin. He is running for mayor, acting like he's put his life of crime behind him. And it's this fascinating thing because, well, you have Vincent D'Onofrio, the great actor that he is, playing this fearsome Kingpin, who's this great parallel to Matt Murdock, as always. And this particular version of the Kingpin is he's a bit more, he's very complicated. He's this fearsome guy, he seems nevertheless to think himself like this honorable man. He seems to think that he's righteous, and he's this monster with scruples. He gives me like Frankenstein vibes, or that kind of tragic, poetic, the great beast who nevertheless feels all this pain within him, and it feels like an act a lot of the time, which is good because Kingpin is a monster, and he's less like an overt, just hate filled, you know, brawler monster like he is in the comics. In this, he seems to think that he is capable of doing good, but that's not to say that there isn't the Kingpin of the comics in there, just waiting to rear his ugly head. This guy is a hater. He is a beast, and he is more than happy to do some awful things to get what he wants. And I like the way that they play, especially in this, with the sort of personas of these very cool characters. Like they kind of separate the alter egos in a lot of the way, because you have the chess game going on between Kingpin and Daredevil, and indeed you also have like you have some other vigilantes who enter the scene. White Tiger shows up, and Bullseye, and Muse, who's like this kind of creepy Professor Pig artist type character. um, but you also have the chess game going on, more actively between Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, who are having this war in the light of day, trying to defeat each other you know, on a legal basis, trying to go throwing down with each other in the courts and in the public opinion, and it's such a fascinating, you know, a, a very fascinating, complicated exploration of the idea of masks and these alter egos and who a person really is. And that's not a new thing. We've been doing that with superheroes for a while now, but this is well done, and it's kind of a fresh take on the very old trope, as it were. And they do like they do some great work here in terms of storytelling. You have the characters are treated very well. They're treated with nothing but respect, and even as like Matt Murdock works as a lawyer, right, in a superpowered city. He's basically, for a good chunk of this season, it's a courtroom drama, playing out most of the time, and I think it's a very well written courtroom drama. Honestly, it's a compelling courtroom drama because there's so much more going on as well. You know that there's more at stake than just like whoever he's currently defending, or when he walks into a bank and there's a robbery going on. There's this element of Matt not wanting to have to be Daredevil, right? He tries to diffuse things always as himself, as the lawyer first, and then every once in a while he needs to become Daredevil again and needs to beat people up. And he doesn't want to do that. He's trying to rein in the beast within. And yeah, in that respect, I think it's a very well written story. And you do again have that parallel of Matt and Wilson Fisk, and you have that parallel of Daredevil and the Kingpin. Kingpin, who is he serves in many ways as that embodiment of like primeval, ferocity, right? He only wishes to to gratify himself, his own like dark desires, and to fill his coffers. While Wilson struggles to do quote unquote good himself. He thinks he can, under his enlightened rule, he can rule the world. He can better the world, whereas Kingpin only wants to better himself. And the perfect wild card in this already bonkers, like very complicated, delicate situation is Bullseye. Bullseye, who's a character that I've always enjoyed. I love to hate Bullseye. In this, he's the ultimate agent of chaos, and while like in the comics, Bullseye is such a fierce hater. He is such a angry, deranged freak of nature. Like he's like, in terms of personality, he's the Marvel equivalent of the Reverse Flash. Just pure evil, spiteful malice. And in this, he is also full of pure evil and spite and anger and fury, but it's all reserved in Born Again. In Born Again, Bullseye is quiet and calculating, and he barely says a word. I honestly don't remember many of his lines because he doesn't say a lot. He says a couple of lines in the entire show, and that makes him really scary. He seems like a predator in this. He's vindictive and cruel, sure, but he's in less of a dramatic, over the top way. In this, he is plotting and scheming, and in all honesty, he's playing his own personal game of hitman. Really, he is like taking disguises and infiltrating buildings and crawling up laundry chutes, and he is playing his own game of hitman or Dishonored or whatever. He's playing a stealth video game, and he's doing a really good job at freaking me out. And the directing helps too, because they really like that the way they shoot certain scenes, and they'll have like a blue flare go up, and you can tell when he's going a little nuts, right? That this guy's not right. Bullseye is he's a wrongin. Yeah, he is like psychopath plus. Really, and for that reason, he's a really good villain. And I'm sorry if it seems like I'm just gushing over this show, because I kind of am. And, I'm not going to lie, there are some faults here and there. All the characters are fairly well written, but that's not to say that all of the plot lines, go off without a hitch. There's like, every once in a while, there will be like an odd monster of the week, if you will, that like doesn't hit as well as the previous one. And there are a few plot threads that don't really seem to go anywhere, or don't go anywhere quick, fast enough for my liking. But all that said and done, they're just kind of minor slip ups, and usually the writing and or acting and or directing kind of more than makes up for that. Um, but all that said, this is easily the best show that Disney Marvel has put out in a long time. No, this is the best show that Disney Marvel has put out. Period. It is, well, easily, I think. And I'm thrilled to see more from this brutal, angry, violent story, which even so somehow manages to fit seamlessly in the Marvel universe, seeming like an actual underbelly to this world. Like it's not at all like out of place necessarily. It feels like natural evolutions of these places and these concepts. These how these street level superheroes will operate. And for that reason, it's very internally realistic and kind of rewarding for a fan to watch. And even for, like, you don't need a lot of information to, like, going into this. It's not like you've missed out on huge swatches of story. I mean, like, there's a whole nother show that's like what came before this, and yet it doesn't feel like you'd really they catch you up really quickly, right? And it feels very natural and feels like if you just started watching this particular show, you wouldn't be missing out on a lot. A little bit of nuance, but if you're good with subtext, that doesn't really matter. You can just go. You're off, and that's also very fun. Marvel is learning its lesson, and you know, kudos to them. I honestly can't wait for season two, and like to see like the whole thing, to see it done. Which it seems to be going in a bit of a different direction too, like a bit more of a less legal drama and more of a like rebel alliance uprising against evil Kingpin. But still, it's like well within the confines of the show. The sort of there is not like a shift in tone or anything, and there's no unexpected absurdities like in other Marvel shows. It's yeah, if you thought Marvel had lost its way, you were probably right to think that because it kind of did lose its way, and they're making a comeback with this, and it just kind of works. It's just kind of it's a good show, and I can't wait for more. Until then, I've been your host, Connor Landon Freeman, an author of fantasy, horror, and science, an upcoming science fiction story, which is completely like off the wall, crazy wizards and science and weirdness. Um, but yeah, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and buy my books while you're at it. So yeah, uh, bye.